brought the creation of what God has done to the forefront of our marriages. Like, yo, and this is why we tell you, if you was to get a coach session with us, we tell you up front, listen, these are the principles we stand on.
Yeah. Now,
we're not so heavily minded to where we're no earthly good, because the same tools that God gave us, guess what? We have found ourselves passing out those same tools. And listen, you ain't got to take my word for it. We got receipts on how those same tools have blessed other marriages.
Yeah.
So it's like, man, when you make God the center of your marriage, remember in Ecclesiastes what said, a three-strand cord is not easily broken.
Right. But when it starts to unravel, right, we want to make sure that you have some practical tools and some practical resources that are available to you to help get things back on track. So one of the things that you want to make sure that you're able to do is get back into agreement, right?
Yeah.
That starts with, number one, having the conversation, right? As we just mentioned, like, how do you get back to, the communication when there is none? Like, the hardest thing and the easiest thing is just to start. And then you want to incorporate prayer as much as you can, right? I know you probably said, my husband or my wife, they not gonna go for prayer. They not doing that. Even if your spouse is not ready to have prayer, you can easily have prayer, right? Praying for your spouse, making sure that you're praying and you're asking God. But here's the thing. When I said prayer alone didn't work, prayer alone for us didn't work, because we had to pray, but we also had to change.
Yeah.
There was something that we had to do differently. So I couldn't be asking God for God to bring my husband back and have conversation and for us to be able to be intimate with one another. But every time he came back, I'm yelling at him. I'm nagging at him. I'm doing all the things. I'm not patient with him. I don't have the long suffering. I couldn't keep showing up that way. Right. So as I was praying for God to bring that back, okay, now I had to shift my prayer. Okay, now, Lord, help me to be patient. Mm-hmm. And inside that, my patience had to be executed in the conversation. My patience had to be executed in how I showed up and how I responded.
Come on.
I had to show love differently. Right. My idea of what love was, I had to ask God, Lord, teach me how to love.
Yes.
So when I say pray, you got to pray, but you also have to show up and do something different.
Yeah.
Because if you just praying and you doing the same thing, that's just like insanity. Right? You are doing the same thing, expecting a different result.
Come on now.
And so, yes, God is amazing. God is all powerful. God is all knowing. He is all those things. And so when I think about who God is, God doesn't need our help with anything.
Right.
But when we're saying, hey, God, I want you to change my husband. Hey, God, I want you to change my wife. But your behavior isn't changing. You looking for a miracle. And the miracle needs to happen not just with your husband or your wife, but with the both of you. And God can do miracles, but then you have to make sure that you are picking up your cross and you're walking daily, denying yourself daily.
Yeah, is it okay if I just say something what you had said? Because you said, hey, Lord, change my wife, who are you to tell God what to do? Right. Number one, who? Because we all have said that. I've said it. And the Lord said to me, it's funny because he said, where were you when I threw the stars in the sky? So who are you? No, if you won't change you.
Right.
Songwriter said the change I want to see must first begin in me. When was the last time you surrendered? Come on here. Because you got to, if you saying you want better, what is better for you? It's not wife, because guess what? One thing that I've understood, it's not wife, it's not husband, because one thing that I have understood is that when you want better for you, you got to make a change. And when you make a change, guess what? Things begin to change after, but you got to stay consistent in the change.
Yeah, that's why I said you got to pray, but you also got to do something different.
You got to put in the work.
And then you want to identify the real enemy.
Right.
There is a real enemy, and it is not your spouse.
Right. It ain't your spouse.
It is not your spouse.
Look at your spouse and say you ain't the enemy.
So I want you to start writing down what are the top 3 things that you're arguing about.
Yeah.
Right? Practically, what are the top 3 things that you're arguing about?
Come on, baby.
And then ask, is this a heart issue? Mm-hmm. Is this a misunderstanding? Or is this a spiritual attack? This is how you start to tear it apart.
Right. Come on, baby. Break it down.
So again, you want to make sure that you write down the top 3 things that you all are arguing about. And then you want to ask yourself and identify, is this a heart issue? And when we say heart issue, meaning, is there something in my heart that's hardened? Is there something in my heart that has me bitter? Is there something in my heart that has me angry towards this situation? That I'm unable to do something or to respond differently because my heart is hardened. Good. Or ask, is this a misunderstanding?
Is this a misunderstanding?
He didn't understand what I was saying. I didn't understand what he was saying. And so we just misunderstood each other.
Right.
Or is this a spiritual attack?
Come on. That's what's up.
Call out the real enemy. And it says, so humble yourselves before God and resist the devil and he will flee from you. It's really important for you to understand who the real enemy is and don't allow Satan to pit you against your spouse.
Right. That is so key from what she just said. When you begin to ask those three things to tear it apart, now you'll be able to see what the enemy is trying to do is put you against one another versus because you are more dangerous together.